Oops, sorry guys, the phone rang. I had forgotten to turn it to silent. Anyway, it says, Paul said, I settled myself in the tree and waited again. This time I was determined to shoot the next game I saw. The moon had risen higher and the moonlight was bright in the little open place. All around it the shadows were dark among the trees. After a long while a doe and her yearling fawn came stepping daintily out of the shadows. They were not afraid at all. They walked over to the place where I had sprinkled the salt, and they both licked up a little of it. Then they raised their heads and looked at each other. The fawn stepped over and stood beside the doe. They stood there together, looking at the woods and the moonlight. Their large eyes were shining and soft. I just sat there looking at them until they walked away among the shadows. Then I climbed down out of the tree and came home. And here's a picture of the doe and her fawn. Laura whispered in his ear, I'm glad you didn't shoot them. Mary said, we can eat bread and butter. Paul lifted Mary up out of her chair and hugged them both together. You're my good girls, he said. And now it's bedtime. Run along while I get my fiddle. When Laura and Mary had said their prayers and were tucked snugly under the trundled bed's covers, Paul was sitting in the firelight with the fiddle. Ma had blown out the lamp because she did not need its light. On the other side of the hearth, she was swaying gently in her rocking chair, and her knitting needles flashed in and out above the socks she was knitting. The long winter evenings of firelight and music had come again. Pa's fiddle wailed while Pa was singing. Oh, Susanna, don't you cry for me. I'm going to California, the gold dust for to see. Then Pa began to play again the song about old Grimes, but he did not sing the words he had sung when Ma was making cheese. These words were different. Pa's strong, sweet voice was softly singing. And guys, this song could probably be sung very slowly, and I'm sure Pa's voice was lower, but I'm going to speed it up just a little bit so I won't bore you to death. It's a song you actually may have heard. Shall old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and the days of old lang syne? And the days of old lang syne, my friend, and the days of old lang syne. Shall old acquaintance be forgot and the days of old lang syne? What do you think? Should I try out for American Idol? Anyway, when the fiddle had stopped singing, Laura called out softly, What are days of old lang syne, Pa? They are the days of a long time ago, Laura, Pa said. Go to sleep now. But Laura lay awake a little while, listening to Pa's fiddle softly playing and to the lonely sound of the wind in the big woods. She looked at Pa sitting on the bench by the hearth, the firelight gleaming on his brown hair and beard and glistening on the honey-brown fiddle. She looked at Ma gently rocking and knitting. She thought to herself, this is now. She was glad that the cozy house and Pa and Ma and the firelight and the music were now. They could not be forgotten, she thought, because now is now. It can never be a long time ago. And what is interesting is that now, Laura's now, is a long time ago. But I do encourage you to enjoy your now. Here are the questions. Make sure you've got your paper ready. Number 1. What did Ma make with the straw? If you said hats, you are correct. Number 2, what season is harvest time a part of? If you said fall or autumn, you're correct. And some of the hints were they mentioned pumpkins, the cooler weather, the changing of the colors of the leaves, and I believe later it even says the word autumn. Number 3, what was it that Ma was scrubbing and scrubbing in water until all the holes came off? If you said corn, you're correct. Number 4, what kind of machine did Paul send for that helped him and his neighbors to harvest the wheat? I tried to really emphasize this because they were using different names at first, but at the end of that chapter it said it was a threshing machine. Number 5, this is an A and B. How many opportunities did Paul have to shoot game for the family to eat? The part B is how did the girls feel about Paul not shooting any of those? So how many and how did the girls feel? If you said 3, you're correct. And the girls said they were really happy Paul had not shot them. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.